welcome to and the Coach Vlog powered by Soul Performance Academy. I am your host, Dan Mickle. Buddha and the Coach is a weekly vlog focused on looking at the teachings of the Buddha in a coach light. The Buddha and the Coach is proud to be sponsored by It's Called Normal Athletics. ICN Athletics makes the extraordinary ordinary through adaptive volleyball. Everyone should have the opportunity to enjoy and excel at the sport, and ICN offers the programs and education to make it normal for adapted athletes to play on any court. Help them make the beach volleyball court a place for everybody. For more information or to make a donation to the 501c3, please visit icnathletics.com. Thank you, and they'll see you in the sand. And as usual, I would like to thank Dave and John and everyone involved at It's Called Normal Athletics and everything that they're doing in the para beach volleyball world and space. Please check out their website, icnathletics.com. It would mean a lot to me, and show them some love. All right, this week's lesson is episode 9, and the theme for this one: work out your own salvation, do not depend on others. This is an interesting one to me because by nature, being a coach, we kind of have to depend on others, whether it's a corporate coach, business coach, personal coach, life coach, or an athletic coach. We are kind of dependent on others and their performance or how well they improve. So this one could be hard to integrate, but I want to kind of take a look at it from a different light, in the sense of how many times are we putting our success solely in the hands of those that we are coaching and working with? And what I mean by that is, while we want most of our students, athletes, clients, whatever you might be training or working on, to be independent and able to work without hand holding or us, being there every step of the way, are there times that we put too much of that on them, that we kind of kick them out of the nest a little bit early? And maybe we need to actually have a little bit more input. Maybe we aren't preparing them enough. And that's kind of how I look at this. When we're working out our own salvation, what I'm really saying is, are we working out our own processes? When something fails, or we're struggling, or someone is not producing with what we expect them to or want them to, are we a little bit too quick to look at them and their performance and what they're doing, and not taking that step back and looking at maybe it was how we trained them or how we did or did not prepare them? Maybe they're actually performing well. It's just, unfortunately, they're performing a different task than that we did not specify what we were looking for. We were not clear in our instructions, or weren't clear in what our destination was or what our main was. And so we quick jump on our students to work with them and try and fix and clean it. And while that still could have some results, if fundamentally we're broken because we were training something that's incorrect or not with the overall vision, are we really going to get where we want? So my challenge to coaches in relation to this lesson is, let's check and see our processes. When things break down, whether it's in practice or in performance, a match, a game, a sales call, if you're in the corporate world, before we are so quick to see where our subjects failed and where those were, let's take a look at what the training was, and was it actually a good fit? Was the training that we provided what we were actually looking for, or did we get it wrong? We see it in sports a lot, that talk about what we want, we say what we want, and then the athletes go out and perform, and it's completely different. And we realize that we spent a lot of time training or working on something that wasn't actually what we wanted or what we had intended. Maybe the training looked great, they were performing individually or performing in that segment correctly, but in the grand scheme, it wasn't where we wanted, didn't catch it. Or maybe we decide, well, it'll work out when we need to. They can practice like this, or they can do the skill this way, but when it comes down to it, we actually need it in a performance, they'll be able to do it. And again, I think that might be putting a little bit too much ownership on the student at that point, and it's a failure in our coaching or our education. And this goes back to reflection, right? We can't work out our own salvation if we don't actually take the time to reflect and see how we're doing things. And I think in the athletic coaching world in particular, we're very good at reflecting on performances and seeing how we did when there's a scoreboard or there's stats or there's actual competition. But I'm not so sure that we're really good at doing the same thing for our practices and our training. We may leave the gym or the space, wherever you're training at, thinking, well, this was a good practice or this was a bad practice. But how many times, regardless of what our feeling or our gut is telling us, have we sat down and reflected on, was this really an effective practice? Was this really effective training? Did we not only accomplish what we put in front of them, but is what we put in front of them what we really need? And I think just because of the grind of a season, and obviously most of us as coaches aren't making a living just being coaches, so we tend to walk out that gym door and kind of leave it there until the next practice. And I think we would serve our athletes, our clients, and our activity, whether it's basketball, baseball, volleyball, I think we would serve all of those better, as well as if we actually had more reflection time on our practices. If we took the time to reflect every single day when we leave the gym, like we did after a competition. And I think that's probably the first place that I would start with. If we're looking at actionable options on what we can do to become better coaches, and specifically taking this passage from Buddha to heart, I think the way we first work out our own salvation is to reflect and make sure that we are setting everyone up. And that's including yourself, not just your athlete, setting everyone up for success. Or are we just kind of phoning it in and, oh, we need to work on this skill, so we're just going to do this drill? Or are we actually taking the time, planning it, doing what we need to do to help everyone? Because otherwise we just keep throwing band-aids on and not really looking at. And the last part of this teaching of Buddha says, do not depend on others. And when we're band-aiding it, that's really what we're doing. We're hoping that our athletes have the talents to fix things and do things better. That kind of really bails us out as a coach. They're performing what we want them to perform, but it's more because of their athleticism or their work ethic. And maybe we could have done a little bit more as coaches to set them up for success. So that's our lesson for this week. Again, the Buddha's teaching that we're focusing on was work out your own salvation. Do not depend on others. So let's make this a conversation. Please like, share, and comment. But in the comments below, talk about your own salvation. What do you do as a coach to make sure that things are on the path of success, that don't rely on other people? Now, again, inherently, as a coach and a athlete or student or client, we do kind of depend on them to put our game plan. But what I'm talking about is, are you putting in the right game plan? Are you really working on what you need to work on? Or are you just having knee-jerk reactions and throwing band-aids at everything? How do you as a coach reflect on your regular trainings? Do you keep a journal or a log of every practice and say, hey, this is what we did, this is what worked? That's the other side of it. A lot of times we'll write down, this is the drill that we did, this is the order, but there's no reflection on how it went. What worked on this drill, what didn't work on this drill, what could we change specifically for this person or this team as opposed to, hey, this is just a log of what we did. So, how do you, as a coach, reflect on your training to make sure that you're working out your own salvation and not depending on others? See you all next week. Make sure you hit us up on all social media at 717 Soul across all social media. And of course, you can reach me directly across all social media at Real Dan Mickle and danmickle.com. Peace, love, don't suck, and I will catch you all back here next week.